Just as we are finding ways to support small and medium-sized businesses, we'll provide loans to the largest enterprises.
Tonight, Ottawa announces they're lending a hand to big companies.
Indigenous tourism is really young, so it's not like these businesses have had 30 years to build assets, and you know what I mean? We're all in that startup phase.
And no tourism season in the Northwest Territories due to COVID-19. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Today, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced help for big business as Parliament's COVID committee faces questions about federal standards for long-term care facilities. APTN's Todd Lamarand has more, plus an announcement from Indigenous Services Minister Mark Miller over the weekend.
Trudeau announced that large companies with at least $300 million in annual revenue will get help through bridge financing of $60 million or more to help companies survive the crisis. But Trudeau says this is not a bailout.
These are bridge loans, not bailouts. Just as we are finding ways to support small and medium-sized businesses, we'll provide loans to the largest enterprises to help them weather the storm and protect the millions of jobs they provide across Canada.
Trudeau stressed that companies cannot use these loans for profit-making activities.
We need to support workers, and that's not shareholders through dividends, that's not executive bonuses, that is ensuring that everything they're doing is protecting workers, their pensions, their collective bargaining, and the continued operation of this company in the country.
At today's COVID briefing, ministers were asked whether federal guidelines are needed, as for-profit long-term care homes have been hit harder by the virus than public ones.
Right now, we are so focused on the urgent, immediate need to save lives in these places that we are not having the fulsome conversations about how to reform the system, but it's certainly on our mind. And I know that it's on the minds of the premiers of the provinces and territories as well.
On the weekend, Indigenous Services Minister Mark Miller appeared at the daily media briefing. He announced $250,000 to partner with St. Michael's Hospital in Toronto to get better data, because his department doesn't have enough to model the outcome of off-reserve, Métis, and Inuit infected with COVID-19.
That's why we've teamed up with the folks at the University of Toronto at St. Michael's to make sure that we have a center focal point with people that know what they're doing so that we can get a better sense of modeling. But I will hide from no one the fact that on the ground, the testing and the collection of that data right now is far from perfect.
Back to Trudeau's announcement, he said bridge financing is available to any industry, including oil and gas. But they must meet federal commitments of net zero emissions by 2050. Todd Lamarand, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Throughout the months of COVID-19 in Canada, we've been able to report one constant, Nunavut being the only part of the country without a single positive case. Our reporter Kent Driscoll joins us now from our Iqaluit Bureau. So, Kent, is Nunavut still at zero?
Thank you, and I'm happy to report that there are still no positive cases for COVID-19 here in Nunavut. Now, the Health Department has investigated 838 people in total. 553 have been cleared. That leaves 285 awaiting results. Now, the thing that makes this COVID-free status pretty amazing for Nunavut is when you consider the rate of other infectious disease here in the territory. RSV, seasonal flus, tuberculosis. If it's infectious, you name it, we've got it in numbers. Well, the restrictions and the social distancing that were put in to fight COVID-19 are having an effect on these other infectious diseases. Our Chief Public Health Officer confirms that seasonal flu and RSV, those numbers are down as compared to this time last year. Now, there could be a small loosening of restrictions coming up this week if Nunavut hits a major testing milestone. See, last week the government announced they have a machine here in Iqaluit that they usually use for tuberculosis tests. Turns out you can use a different cartridge and it can do COVID-19 as well. Now, they've run tests on it, they're convinced it's accurate, and they're starting to use it. There's also a second machine just like that in Rankin Inlet, Nunavut, and they plan on testing that, and that could be up and online as early as Wednesday. So, like the rest of the country, Nunavut waits, and there could be some changes coming this week. Back to you in Winnipeg.
Thank you, Kent. It's a tale of two studies in Quebec as the province fights to reopen while keeping its biggest city closed. The National Institute of Public Health in Quebec outlined the two scenarios the province is facing when it comes to COVID-19. Today, Premier François Legault said the situation in Montreal is still very worrisome compared with the rest of Quebec, especially as schools begin to reopen.
That's why we've delayed the reopening to May the 25th. And will proceed on May the 25th only if all conditions are met. The situation is under control outside of Montreal. That's why we reopen businesses, and we are reopening this week schools.
Legault called for the unity of all Quebecers to pull together through this COVID-19 crisis. In Ontario, Premier Doug Ford is planning to extend the province's state of emergency through the month of May.
Moving forward, yes, we're going to have to renew the state of emergency. Once we get through this, well, that's going to be taken off the table.
The current state of emergency was set to expire tomorrow, but Doug Ford will ask the Ontario legislature to extend it through June 2nd. He will have the chance to do that during its fourth emergency session tomorrow. At that time, he is also expected to face questions over his government's response to the outbreak. A human rights watchdog in South America says a Canadian mining company's decision to resume work in Peru is putting the lives of Indigenous people in danger. According to the group Human Rights Without Frontiers, local health workers confirmed at least 21 workers at Hudbay's Constancia mine contracted COVID-19, but Hudbay has not confirmed those numbers. Advocates say the lack of COVID-related action is part of a broader pattern of, quote, irresponsible behavior from foreign mining companies. Hudbay told APTN News they were not aware of positive cases at the Constancia mine, but said additional screening measures are currently in place. Sioux tribes in South Dakota are at odds with the U.S. government over coronavirus checkpoints and that they have set up on their lands.
No fever, cough, fatigue, shortness of breath?
No, don't have any of those things.
The state's governor says the checkpoints are illegal, and if they are not removed, the matter will be taken to federal court. Meanwhile, the Sioux argue these checkpoints are the only way of ensuring the virus does not enter their reservations. Officials argue that limited health care on their reserve would not be able to cope with a COVID-19 outbreak. We want to hear what you think about the Sioux checkpoints and South Dakota's response to them. Here's how you can continue the conversation. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca. You can find us online at aptnnews.ca with a whole new look and on youtube.com/aptnnews. You can also follow APTN News on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more Indigenous news. Time for us to take a quick break, but coming up, reaction to the Northwest Territories announcing there will be no tourism season this summer. First, here's a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting off on the east coast, we've got 7 and rain for St. John's, 8 and rain for Charlottetown. La Grande River, -4 and snow. Inukjuak, 2 and snow. Chibougamau, 0 and sunny skies. Sept-Îles is 8 and cloud. Peterborough, 6 and some snow. 9 and sunshine for London. Kapu's Casing, 6 and snow. 6 and sunshine for Big Trout Lake. 10s for Puckatawagan and Thompson, sunny skies. 8 in God's Lake and sunny. 11 for Gimli, Winnipeg, and Brandon, sunny skies there. 14 in sunshine for Saskatoon, 10 and cloud for Swift Current. 13 in sunshine for Meadow Lake or Buffalo Narrows and Meadow Lake. 12 and sunny for Uranium City. Welcome back. Nova Scotia RCMP have provided an update into their investigation of last month's shooting rampage that killed 22 people. They've announced their behavioral analysis unit is conducting a psychological autopsy of the gunman. It includes a personality analysis, looking at how he related to others and his past behavior. The Mounties say they've also identified the business that made the RCMP decals used on the gunman's car. The manager there says that they were created without his permission. Investigators have spoken to 500 witnesses so far. And over the weekend, prisoner advocates in Quebec staged a noisy drive-by of 2 penitentiaries grappling with active COVID-19 outbreaks, urging them to better protect inmates. 138 inmates at the Federal Training Centre in Laval have COVID-19. 1 died last week. The convoy also passed the Bordeaux jail in Montreal, where 60 people are infected. A feeling of uncertainty grips many Indigenous tourism operators in the Northwest Territories. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs explains what challenges remote businesses are facing as the summer tourism season will not happen.
Tundra North Tours was anticipating to pull in $1 million in tourism sales. But they will be lucky if they clear $150,000 this year. Bottom line, COVID relief funds won't keep Kylik Kasoon-Taylor, owner and guide of the company, afloat.
The only thing I've seen is the one they just released where they're going to try to take care of some of your overheads, which is great, and it's non-repayable, which is what you need. But the rest of it's all loan-based stuff. And the payback period is too short for us to actually pay it back to get the zero interest and to get, so it's just more debt when you lost the business. And when you're operating at a level like we are, Indigenous tourism, the vast majority of us are like, it's really paycheck to paycheck. We don't have financial backers.
And you can come up and see experiences like this behind me, the reindeer herd. It's life-changing.
Based in Inuvik, Northwest Territories, the Inuvialuit Gwich'in Run Company provides cultural expeditions by land and water along the Arctic coast. Outside of the established Yellowknife Aurora tourism sector, Indigenous tourism in remote communities has only just started to gain footing in the last decade.
Indigenous tourism is really young, so it's not like these businesses have had 30 years to build assets and you know what I mean. We're all in that startup phase. Even if we've been in business for 10 years, we're still in that startup phase because not only have we've had to create the market, for Indigenous experiences, and we've had to create the organizations. Like ITAC is really new.
And even farther north, it's a similar story. Captana's Arctic Adventures in Ulaktuk just lost out on a $60,000 big game guiding trip.
Having a muskox outfitting right now, hunting muskox and polar bears for a big game outfitting. Also, right now, since everything's closed off, nothing's been really happening except for just hunting for ourselves.
Both operators cater almost primarily to international clients. And with some communities like Ulu restricting visitors, Taylor likens the situation to the crash of 2008.
And it just takes a community to say we don't want, they can't technically do that, but I live there, right? So it's like I can't just operate a business saying, well, I'm legally allowed to be here, where everyone hates your guts because you're bringing outsiders in and they're still afraid, right?
The N.W.T. government has repeatedly stated that expected loosening of COVID-19 restrictions will be tied to strict border security. Only N.W.T. residents and essential workers to enter the territory this summer. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Last month, the federal government announced it is spending $300 million to help Indigenous tourism operators, many of whom fear that they will have to shutter their businesses permanently because of the toll this pandemic could take. Here's another look at a story from Lee Wilson in BC.
The Indigenous Tourism Association of Canada was formed 5 years ago to help grow Indigenous tourism in the country. In that period, their CEO, Keith Henry, saw industry transform and grow. But now, with the global pandemic, which has shut down all travel, he says 90% of businesses could be closing for good.
We have to do something very quick if we want to save we were becoming a world leader for Indigenous tourism. And, we could see it all gone in a matter of a few months.
Indigenous tourism is a multi-billion-dollar industry, with 40,000 people working and 1,900 businesses across the country, including resorts, adventure tours, and art galleries.
Right. Indigenous tourism was seeing tremendous growth basically leading up till the pandemic, up until December 2019, we were doing annual surveying, and we just had what we felt was another record-breaking year for direct sales and sort of building of new businesses in Indigenous tourism. We were worth almost, an estimated $2 billion in direct GDP.
Seawolf Adventures was preparing for their biggest year, but COVID-19 halted it all. Mike Willie is from the Kwakwala-speaking people, tribes that run along Vancouver Island's coast and parts of mainland BC, operating wildlife and cultural tours.
We did have another boat coming because the demand was there for us to get a new boat. And so we had to put that on hold. It's half done. And so unfortunately that happened, the COVID happened. Right now we're seeing a lot of cancellations just like everyone else.
Willie says his business is down $200,000 in deposits and bookings. Right now, his company has not received any financial support. They are at the risk of bankruptcy.
We're delinquent on our boat payments and our line of credits. Like you can see what could happen, right? And to be honest, that's one route that we're looking at right now, because we need to know what it looks like to go bankrupt, right? And because the money isn't coming in, and the bank still wants their money.
Indigenous Tourism Association of Canada is calling for two things: a $16 million development grant that will help 640 businesses, and a $570 million in a loan structure to help Indigenous businesses refinance and weather the storm that is COVID-19.
But the large majority, especially those startups, they relied heavily on the Aboriginal financial institutions. They might have had a bank account at a major bank, but who provided them like the initial investment for marketing and operational costs and things like that was helping them get incubated through the 60 or so Aboriginal financial institutions in the country.
Canada has built its Indigenous tourism to be among world leaders, but years of hard work could be undone, and there won't be any industry left to save.
What we don't want is the clock to be turned back again, and for us to be standing on the outside looking in to the tourism circle. For many, many years, it was that way, right? And
Lee Wilson, APTN National News, British Columbia.
Beautiful story. Sad what's going on, but visually pleasing. We have to take another break, but coming up, a musical mystery in Victoria, British Columbia. And here's the rest of tomorrow's weather forecast for the west and the north. Starting off in northern Alberta, we got 15 and sunny skies for Fort Chip, 16 and sunshine for Fort McMurray. Edmonton is sunny and 13 degrees, 8 and rain for Lethbridge. 23 and sunny in Kamloops, 17 and rain for Campbell River. Smithers, 22 and sunny skies, 18 in Dease Lake with sunshine. Mayo, 19 and sunny, Old Crow, sunshine and 8. Norman Wells, 4 and cloudy skies, Wati, snow and 3. 0 for Inuvik and snow, 0 and mixed sun and cloud for Tuck. Minus 11 and snow for Cambridge Bay, minus 9 in Chesterfield. Minus 5 in snow for Arctic Bay, minus 4 in snow for Clyde River. Welcome back. We have a clarification now on an item that we brought you last week. For Red Dress Day, a young girl from Nova Scotia honored her great-aunt Anime Pitu-Akwash by dancing across her community. Well, we said that Anime's 1975 murder in South Dakota remains unsolved. We would like to provide further clarification. 2 men, Arlo Looking Cloud in 2004 and John Graham in 2011, were convicted of felony murder in that case. A federal Justice Department official in South Dakota says that the case is closed, but members of Anime's family believe members of the American Indian movement ordered the killing and have not been brought to justice. Well, there are no shortage of stories about frontline heroes risking their lives to help others. Tina House caught up with another group of unsung heroes who are taking matters into their own hands and helping feed the most vulnerable in society. Here's another look at that story.
Food preparation is well underway at the Aboriginal Mothers Centre Society in East Vancouver, and beef vegetable stew in bannock is on the menu, as staff are preparing 200 meals for people on the downtown east side. With many of the frontline services shut down over COVID-19 restrictions, the nonprofit organization is one of the only groups that is still down here feeding people Monday to Friday. Sarah Thomas, who oversees helping people that are homeless not only find homes but also have support programs, says that going down to the streets to help is so needed right now and recalls the first time going there.
We bought over 50 pizzas and we went and got 40 hot dogs and pop, and it was gone within 5 minutes, and they are so hungry. And now when we go down there, we're starting to get to know the people, and they just love it.
Along with handing out food, they also hand out care packages of hand sanitizer, masks, gloves, and antibacterial wipes. For Executive Director Maura Gowans, helping others in this time of crisis is her way of paying it forward.
We're out here because a lot of us have our own lived expertise, and it was our duty and responsibility. I'm a step away from being there. I've been there, and I couldn't just leave them and not do anything to even just to let them know that there's somebody that cares, that we have people here that care.
And it's that care for the community that is the heart of the operation. Here, located at Wall and Dundas Street, is the offices for AMCS. 16 assisted living units are located upstairs for single moms and their babies. AMCS offers a wide range of programs, including learning parenting skills and support programs. Cultural drumming circles are a daily event, as well as traditional beading and cedar weaving programs are offered at the center. And once a week, they also offer a food bank program for up to 75 elders.
We go and deliver each of the meals to them, and there's enough food in here for about a week, so we try to make it as nutritional and stuff that can last.
And now the soup is ready. The meals are all packed up, and it's time to head downtown. Once on site, 2 wagons are packed with individual servings, ready to hand out.
Okay?
Yeah, very good stuff.
Awesome. Take care.
AMCS has numerous partners that offer food donations, including the Vancouver Food Bank. And Luma Native Housing Society has also jumped on board to help financially. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Okay. Thank you. Now that everybody wants soup and bannock for dinner, there seems to be a musical mystery afoot in Victoria, British Columbia. People living along the Gorge Waterway are being treated to soothing music from an unidentified musician. The stranger serenades residents each night from his balcony, allowing the community to enjoy a concert from a distance. Residents aren't sure who the singer is, but they're thankful for the music. One thing that this pandemic has been good for are the many bright lights among us who shine and bring some joy to others. Well, that is your news for tonight. Be sure to check out our website to stay up to date on the very latest COVID-19 news. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Have a great night.